inside the Niger Delta.
The clamor for the establishment of special development commissions for each geopolitical zone of the country is giving some Niger Deltans cause for worry. Consequently, they are calling on the federal government to ignore those spreading the campaign for multiple regional development commissions in the country, as it will further incapacitate an underperforming Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) and deprive Nigeria's oil-rich region the attention it deserves as a special area in need of accelerated development. Correspondent Tekena Miofori has more.
Following the establishment in 2017 of the Northeast Development Commission (NEDC), have been calls for the replication of regional development commissions across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. The National Assembly is already inundated with proposed legislations to give legal backing to the establishment of commissions that will promote rapid and even development in all parts of the country. Inasmuch as they are not against any genuine attempt to tackle the collective challenge of underdevelopment faced by all sections of the country, concerned Niger Deltans are worried that the current clamor for regional development commissions is politically motivated.
The challenge we have in this country is that we play politics with practically everything. You cannot have a Northeast Development Commission, Southeast Development Commission, and any other development commission just because there's a Niger Delta Development Commission. Go to the philosophy and find out why we should have a Niger Delta Development Commission. We are the goose laying the golden eggs, and we deserve informed discrimination. Justified, we should be treated better than any other because we are the ones feeding the nation, and it's just legit.
In the event of the creation of regional development commissions across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones, opponents of the idea fear that it will cripple an NDDC that is already bogged down with inadequate funding by the federal government.
Development commissions should not be created when there is not an emergency situation. The case of the Niger Delta is unique. We are the ones suffering from oil degradation. We are the ones suffering from air pollution. And that was why we needed the NDDC. We are the ones with a developmental deficit, infrastructural deficiency. So that is a poignant case, as opposed to when you are looking at you want to build roads in an area or you want to tackle, because in the Southeast case, they are talking of the menace of erosion. The next thing the Northwest will say it wants to tackle desertification too. Therefore, they need, the Southwest will talk about congestion and other things. The Niger Delta suffers a unique detriment, and it provides over 75% of the nation's foreign exchange earnings. And yet, what is the level of development in this South-South region?
For anybody to think about trying to replicate NDDC, then that person simply don't seem to understand the importance, the role NDDC seem to play in the Niger Delta. That's what it simply is. Because if you understand the role that NDDC is fulfilling, you would agree with me that no other region would even think of coming up with such a similar project like the NDDC in their domain. Because the federal government is struggling to even meet up with this 1.8 trillion debt is owing the NDDC. So where is the federal government going to get money to now cover up for the creation of other what you call developmental commissions? By the way, you have the states. It means you're going parallel with the federal constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which simply states that the different state parastatals, the state governments, are meant to run the various states. So what it simply means is that the various regions are now saying that the state governments are not capable, so they should scrap the state governments and form an agency for them. That's entirely different. So let's not, these are apples and oranges. Let's not mix them up.
The plan to replicate the Niger Delta Development Commission in other parts of the country is giving most Niger Deltans serious cause for concern. It is generally viewed in the oil-rich region as an attempt to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Every year we pass budgets running into trillions. What are the monies appropriated for? It's for the development of this nation. And when a budget is being articulated, all the zones are taken into consideration. Projects are cited according to zones and their importance, immediate importance to their economy and to their development per time. So what do we need commission for? To develop those areas. And then apart from that, we have governors who also have budgets in all these areas. What do they do with the money? So what do they need a commission for? What kind of money will we use to fund that commission on a steady basis?
In their response to the clamor for the establishment of regional development commissions across the country, opponents of the idea maintain that the Niger Delta had been designated a peculiar terrain in need of special attention long before Nigeria's independence from British colonial rule in 1960. It is for this reason most Niger Delta activists are rejecting what they consider a veiled attempt to deprive the region the urgent attention it deserves from the federal government.
And we are repeating history because this was the same thing that was done in the case of the River Basin Development Commissions. The Willings Commission asked for a special area to be created in the Niger Delta because of the peculiarity of the area and its developmental needs. And therefore, the Niger Delta Basin Development Authority was created. Soon thereafter, under the Obasanjo regime in 1977, several basin authorities were created. And to the extent that it came to a point where the Niger Delta Basin Development Authority was receiving the least amount in all the basin authorities. Today we are seeing a replication, and we are angst, and we are very pissed off.
Any other region that intends to replicate NDDC, then maybe we might look at maybe a region that has coal or gold. If we want to go about exploring those other resources of Nigeria, then at a point it becomes important for the federal government to as well set up such commissions. But if we don't go about processing those other revenues of ours or other assets of the federal government like coal, gold, and all diamonds and whatever we have in different parts of the country. If we can do that, then there will be a clear call for the federal government to establish such agencies. But for now, the federal government solely depends on oil. And for now, that's basically what would only suffice.
The Niger Delta Development Commission was established in 2000 through an act of parliament to address an age-long crisis of underdevelopment that has become the lot of oil-producing communities till date. In view of their predicament, not a few Niger Deltans consider it a moral burden on the federal government to give a thought to the proliferation of regional development commissions that would most likely emerge at the expense of the beleaguered Niger Delta region.
Inside the Niger Delta,